Hi everyone, my name is Lindsay and I am going to start posting, hopefully once a week, some videos just about adoption and what it's like to be the parent of adopted children, some of the challenges we face, some of the really awesome parts. I wanted to do this for a few reasons. So my husband and I adopted two children in Uganda recently. And we've just noticed that there's a ton of stories out there for the adoption story. Like from deciding you're going to adopt to the child coming home, there's so many of these beautiful stories out there for people to see and to learn from. But there's not really a lot of community for people internationally who've adopted, and then what happens after the children come home. And so I wanted to just have a safe place where I could share some of our experiences and hopefully be able to just speak into some of what some of other people are dealing with as well. So my story and my husband's story begins years ago when we just struggled for years and years and years to get pregnant. And so we tried adoptions, we had failed adoptions, we had all these, and not for any fault of ours, just for different reasons, adoptions fell through, which is quite common. Anyone who's gone through the adoption process knows this. And so we actually moved to Uganda to set up an NGO, or a Canadian charitable organization. And while we were here, we really weren't thinking of adoption. My heart was not in a place I could do that. And so I really I wasn't in a place where I felt like I could adopt because I was scared it was going to fail again. And so my husband and I were focused on our work. We were here for 1 year to set up our NGO, to bring in some really incredible Ugandans to help us run it once we went back to Canada. And in that process, we met two unbelievable children here in Uganda. And Abel and Malika are their names. And both of them were sort of just discarded by their society. They both had medical needs. And no one in Uganda was really willing to adopt. And they didn't have biological family for various reasons. Our son was abandoned, and our daughter's family felt that she was a curse to the family because of her physical difference. And so no one in Uganda would adopt for the same reasons. And so we adopted them, and totally unexpectedly, it also sort of put a spin on our plans in Uganda. We were planning on being here for a year. I've now been here for over 2 years because there was a foster period involved in adopting in Uganda. So the kids and I are still in Uganda. We're getting ready to go back to Canada soon. But what I really wanted to be able to do with these vlogs is to be able to just sort of share some of the struggles that we face, but also some of the blessings. So I think that a lot of people assume that adoption is either one of two things. Either it's just this continuously beautiful experience that, you've wanted to be parents for so long that every moment after the kids come home is just great. Or there's been some really horrible stories too of people just not bonding with their kids and really, really struggling with those aspects of it, which is a very real thing in adoption. And so what I wanted to do is have a safe place where we could share stories together of these different things that happen with adopted kids. Also just what it's like to be an adoptive parent. So we obviously have children that don't resemble us in appearance. My husband was originally born in Iraq, so he's Middle Eastern. I was born in Canada, and I'm clearly Caucasian. And I have European background, and our kids are Ugandan, so they're black. And so we have faced a huge issue in Uganda with people viewing us as not parents, but as kind of guardians or volunteers with these kids. And something that we're told often is, thank you for what you're doing for these children. But then they'll say to the kids, but now you come to me, you come greet me, you come. So it's sort of like, thank you for what you've done for these kids, but now I get precedence over you as to what these children should be doing. Constantly, we are parented over. So in public, if something goes wrong, if our child, I have a 2 and a 3-year-old, so if someone has a tantrum or someone is upset or sad or starts to cry, right away it's assumed that I don't know what I'm doing as a parent because I look different from my kids, and therefore I don't understand them. And I've had countless people tell me, I don't understand them. I don't know these kind of children. I don't know how they are, and therefore I need other people's help. I've had people do exactly the opposite of what I've asked them to do. I've asked at daycare to not give my children processed sugar. they give them soda and cake, and I'll come back and ask why, and they say, well, everyone else had it and they would have been sad without it. I said, okay, but I asked you not to give it, and they just sort of smile at me, and many times people tell me those aren't yours, so don't say they're yours. They're not yours. I can decide what they need or what they want, or I have children like them, so I know better than you. And so I don't know if this is something that other people face. Again, we live in Uganda still, where I am visibly the minority, and 95% of the people around me are Ugandans, and I clearly have Ugandan children, so they know that, and they sort of feel like they have the right to speak over me as a parent. And I would be interested, actually, very interested, to find out if other adoptive parents around the world who have children from different ethnicities, different cultures, if you also find this. So if you're in North America or Europe, or if you're in Africa and you have children that don't look like you, do you also face that, where people from the same ethnic group as your children sort of feel like they trump you when it comes to parenting, or they feel like they can offer sort of unsolicited advice, often in a little bit of a condescending or rude way, assuming that you don't know how to parent your child because they look different than you? I'd be very interested to hear if any of you also face these same challenges. But so anyway, so that I'm just going to stop it there today. I want to post one of these every week. Next week, I actually just really want to talk about the differences between being adoptive parents and biological parents. We don't have biological children, but I have many friends and family who have biological children. And I have incredible nieces and nephews that I am bonded to, and so I know sort of what those normal relationships look like in bio parents and bio children. And I just wanted to be able to compare those to adoptive parents. I think that for bio parents only, it'll be informative for you to know sort of what it's like to be an adoptive parent. You'll be surprised by the similarities, but also there are differences, obviously. And I would also love to hear feedback from adoptive parents if you have the same experience, if you struggle with the same things, if you found the same things to be relatively easy in your house. So that's where I'm going to stop it for this week. And I am just so excited to be able to share with other adoptive parents, to meet people just wherever you are and in your journey, and just to be able to offer support to each other and build each other up and love each other, and just to sort of give each other that support that sometimes I think that as adoptive parents it's hard to find in your community. And I just want to be able to offer that space for us in a really safe environment. So thank you for listening, and I will talk to you soon.